We shall see if that's correct or not. So, hello, happy Monday. So I got really excited over the weekend. I shared a little graphic to say that every morning at 8:30 in the morning UK time, I would be going live and we'd be exploring, helping you get ready to write in preparation for NaNoWriMo. And then at 8:30 this morning, in fact, a couple of minutes before 8:30 this morning, I went live testing out a new piece of software that I'd never used before. And with hindsight, I should have tested it privately first. I did not. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but never mind. Here we are, later in the day than anticipated. Quite transparently, had a little bit of a frustrating morning, troubleshooting, working out what's going on, had some help from the people behind the scenes, and it still did not work. However, we're doing it a different way, and as far as I can tell, it's all good. I will only know, having said that though, this morning I did not know it was crackly until afterwards when I looked at the replay and I was like, oh no, it's terrible. But I did do a quick test earlier on and it seemed okay. So fingers crossed, we should see how we get on. But not to worry, it's all good. We will from tomorrow be doing this at about 9 o'clock UK time. And we shall see where we go. But all of that nonsense and preamble over with, let's get cracking for real with what we're going to be exploring. For the next few weeks, between now and the end of the month, in fact, we're going to be doing and exploring season 6 of the Youier podcast with a very specific focus. And the goal of each of these episodes is short and sweet. Today's episode might be a little bit longer because there's a little bit of explanation, a little bit of explanation and preamble. However, the goal is to keep these short and sweet and actionable. Less than 10 minutes, hopefully, because I love sharing stuff with you, but I don't want you just to watch it and maybe smile and then nothing, you don't do anything with it. Instead, I want to give you a little plaything at the end of it instead. As a reminder, this is aimed specifically at those folks who want to write. Now, don't get hung up on this idea of what you're going to write. You can use this because a bit of behind the scenes for this. If you've heard of NaNoWriMo, it's short for National Novel Writing Month. It happens in November, where a group of brave souls, they decide that yes, they're going to write a novel of at least 50,000 words in a month. And it is aimed primarily at fiction. However, a few years ago, I had this idea, well, actually, why don't we harness the power of community and just do it even if we're not writing fiction? I have written fiction, as some of you know, but this is really aimed at people who, for too often, have found themselves, yes, I will eventually get to this thing. It will happen at some point. I remember myself many years ago, every December and every January, I would write, this will be the year I'm going to write fiction. I kept saying it and didn't do it until 2015 I finally did. So I do recognise that feeling of, oh yeah, I wish I'd got to it and I really want to do it. So my goal is this month, we're going to have these short and sweet episodes where we're going to share a little bit of behind the scenes prep work. So in the Rainbow Room, we focus on helping you plan, write, publish and market your book. And this is actually part of the planning piece of that. Over the next few days, I think there's something like 17 different episodes. I think there's 17 days between now and the end of the month. Well, 17 Monday to Friday days. And so we will be getting to some of the planning bit as well. But really, this is kind of some of the mind gymnastics, some of the head stuff. Dorothy, hello. This is one of the fun things. So I haven't done live videos for ages, but one of the fun pieces is like when there's people watching it. And I guess that's the advantage of having my tech failure this morning, is it's now much later in the day and there's more people around to watch it. So that's really fun. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Let's think about today's particular focus, if you like. And today's episode is going to be called What's Your Story? But I'm not talking about what's the story that you're writing. What we're really thinking about is what's the story that's going on up here between your ears. The stories that you're telling yourself inside your mind around what this writing adventure might look like. I already said, and I actually interrupted myself with another thought, but I already said, don't get hung up on the idea of how you're going to publish this. We are channeling the power of NaNoWriMo, where they are focusing on fiction, but you can use this to help you focus on writing non-fiction, poetry. You can use this to help you focus on writing blog posts. It doesn't have to be a book per se. Yes, I will help you publish books, and I that is part of what we do in the Rainbow Room. But really, this is about helping you. If there's something that God is nudging you about, that is yours to your story to tell, or your thing to put out there in the world, we need those words out there in whatever form that is going to take. So like I say, don't get hung up on that word books. But what I want to think today about is what is actually stopping you? What are the stories that you are telling yourself that may or may not be empowering you, or they might actually be disempowering you? I think that's the correct word. Let's give you an example. So I might tell myself, oh, I can't possibly write another book because I don't have enough hours in the day. Life's already really busy. I can't possibly fit it in. Or I might tell myself, I can't possibly write a book because my language isn't strong enough. I'm not good at the process of crafting it. Or I might tell myself, I can't write a book because there's so many brilliant, wonderful authors out there. What can I possibly have to say? All three of those are examples of stories that you might tell yourself that get in the way of you actually getting your bum in the seat and doing the work. And they're not true. As we're going to explore in a few episodes' time, consistency trumps talent every single time. You could have somebody who's an absolute genius, the best in the world at writing. However, somebody who shows up day after day after day and hones their craft is going to do better over time than the genius. Now, not everybody will necessarily agree with that. They might say, well, the genius can just do it naturally. And yes, they can. And there is a place for that. My example of that is my clarinet. Like, I picked the clarinet up and it comes quite naturally to me. However, if I want to get really, really, really good, I need to put the practice in. I don't put the practice in, quite transparently. I only play my clarinet in church on a Sunday. In fact, last week, this is a bit random. Last week, I picked up a piece of music that was on my shelf that I did when I did my grade 8 clarinet. I looked at that and went, whoa. And my husband said, you could learn that again. I was like, well, yes, I could. I don't really want to right now, but I could. It would just take hours and hours of practice. And so even those things that we're naturally gifted in, you need to be showing up consistently in order to really hone that craft. So those stories you might be telling yourself that, there are people better at this than me. There probably are. There's people better than me at sharing live videos, but I'm not going to let that stop me. There's loads of people better at loads of different stuff than us. That's not the point of this. There is a message that is yours to share with the world, and we don't want anything getting in the way of that. Not to mention the fact that actually there's a massive difference between writing and editing. And yes, we'll be getting into that in a few episodes' time as well. This is the act of writing, the craft of writing is one skill set. And then afterwards you go back and you edit and you polish and you refine. Don't mix those two skills up. So what are those stories that you are telling yourself about the writing process? You're going to have a plaything with this, and your plaything, like I did tell you, I wanted to make these actionable, short and sweet and actionable. Your plaything really is to explore with Holy Spirit what those stories are that you are telling yourself about the writing journey and your experience as you come to write. So you might be telling yourself, another story example, you might be telling yourself the story that writing is really hard and that, you have to squeeze every single word out and it's a tortured endeavour. I don't know about you, but I really do not want to be engaging in a tortured endeavour. That sounds ever so painful. Why don't we change the language? And so that's what you're going to be doing with your plaything with this as you explore this with Holy Spirit. If there are people watching, like on the replay later on, perhaps who are like, I don't know if I do this with God. So, because what I'm recognizing is that, yes, everything I do is within the guise of Youier. So you, an intentional, expectant relationship with God. But the nature of Facebook and YouTube, and now sharing these more widely and on the podcast as well, is that there were people watching this or listening to this who are like, yeah, I don't really know what that looks like, or I don't even know if I believe in God. I just want to remind you or put it out there that no matter what you think of God, he thinks an awful lot of you. He loves you very, very much. And so I make no apology for the fact that you are going to, every single day, going to be hearing me encourage you to explore this thing with God, ask Holy Spirit questions. I'm reminded of a conversation I had on a podcast, I don't know, last month maybe. I was a guest on this gentleman's podcast, and it's a business podcast. And he made an interesting observation. He said that the process that you describe around your conversations with God, that sounds like the conversations I have inside my own head. And I said, yeah. I mean, I would argue that those conversations you have inside your own head, God's involved in those too. And you're like, maybe. And so if there's any people who are a bit like, I don't know, go through this anyway, engage with the process, because like I say, even if you're not sure about God, he's very sure about you. But most of the people that choose to follow along and do life with me, you're already in relationship with God. With that reminder, if you're someone's like, I don't know if I hear from God. If you love Jesus, you have Holy Spirit living inside you, you can hear from God. I should say as well, actually, I don't usually like that word should, but in this context it works. If you are somebody who is like, I don't know how to hear from God, you can get the Youier book for free if you join the Youier movement. We've updated things on the website. I'll pop some links for that in the show notes as well, because you absolutely definitely can hear from God. And knowing that you can hear from God really is that entry level piece to this, because no good me saying to you, go and explore it with God, and then you're like, I don't know how to do that. So if you need help with that, we've got you covered as well. But your plaything for today, we're wrapping up because I'm trying to keep this timely. Your plaything for today is to explore the stories that you are telling yourself about your writing adventure. And are those stories empowering you, or are they disempowering you? And if they're not empowering you, ask Holy Spirit to craft with you some new stories. Even using that word adventure to ask that question frames things very differently. Our language is powerful, and we're going to touch on this again over the coming days as well, I'm sure. The language that you use to describe this adventure really is powerful. So you get to go and explore it with God and work through those new stories with him. Doesn't have to take ages. Like, we're doing these little episodes every day, and I recognise that I don't want anyone to feel like, oh no, I'm falling behind. There's no falling behind. You're exactly where you need to be. You can have a conversation with God about this as you're out walking the dog, or doing the dishes or whatever. It doesn't need to be a big, heavy, full-on, time-consuming process. But I would encourage you to explore those stories and make sure that the stories that you're telling yourself are empowering. I'm going to pause there for a minute because we also have Deborah's here as well. Hello. I was saying to Dorothy that one of the really cool things, good stuff. Well, thank you very much. One of the really nice things, so context for you, because you probably missed this bit at the start. We're doing this now. It's not 8:30 in the morning UK time, which is when I was meant to be doing this, or I'd planned to do this. And I did do this, but it all went a bit wrong. It was all like stuttery and was really poor quality. And I worked through the tech stuff, and we're trying again. But one of the advantages is there are people here. So I'm going to explore with Holy Spirit and go, okay, what time are we doing this? I shall keep you posted, because if there's more people around in the afternoon, we could do it then. The only thing is, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I have Zoom with the folks in the Blue House. I will have a little think about it. Worst case, you can catch up. There's going to be a replay anyway. I quite like the idea, you see, of recording these first thing in the morning. With my apologies to my friends who are perhaps in New Zealand or Australia, Singapore, you're awake before me. But if anybody's awake after me, I like the idea of recording these in the morning, and then you can wake up to them. So we shall see. Anyway, I have nothing else to share at this point. You know what your plaything is. Thank you for being here, for the folks who are here live. If you're catching up on the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Anything else? Yes, if you know somebody who would benefit from this little mini series, please do share it with them. And as you explore your questions, as you explore your stories, the stories that you've been telling yourself about writing, come back and let us know how you're getting on. If you're watching this and you're a member of the Blue House, you can, of course, share it directly in the Blue House. For everybody else, I'd encourage you to comment wherever it is that you're watching this video. And that's it. We're done. I shall be back tomorrow. And tomorrow morning we're going to aim for 9 a.m. I've put that one out there. So those of you who are in the US, you can look for this in the morning when you wake up, and let me know how you get on. I've got to find the button now. There we go. I always struggle finding the button, as some of you know. Anyway, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I shall be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.